Camera ki jawa ache bolna na. Dear students of class 12 in Rajshahi College, I welcome you in my second class on English compulsory paper 2. Today I will discuss different types of non-finite verbs, and students in Bangladesh often are confused with the definition and usage of non-finite verbs, in particular the present participles and gerunds. Therefore, I will show you which are gerunds and which are present participles by the end of today's class. Well, let us start. I think you are enjoying your class 12 classes well, as we cannot meet in the classrooms as we do in the usual and normal situations, but this time we are passing the terrible days of pandemic of COVID-19. It is safe to stay home and it is safe to learn while staying in home with the help of the online classes that the teachers are taking. So let us start today's discussion on non-finite verbs. In the previous class, I told you that we have mainly three types of non-finite verbs: present participles, past participles, and infinitives. And from the previous classes discussion, I repeat, a non-finite verb means a secondary verb within a clause other than the finite verb of the clause. And in the class, try to remember that I told you that a clause is made of at least one and at best one finite verb. That is, the presence of a finite verb determines the existence of a clause, and thus the number of finite verbs in a sentence determine the number of clauses in a sentence. Therefore, if we have only one finite verb in a sentence, we call it a simple sentence, and when we get more than one clauses, that is, the presence of more than one finite verbs in a sentence, make the sentence complex or compound, or complex compound. Our concern today is non-finite verbs, not finite verbs. But we have to remember that each of the non-finite verbs used in English sentences has a relation with the finite verbs, since non-finite verbs are the secondary verbs in a sentence. In the previous class, I also told you that non-finite verbs are tenseless verbs. A non-finite verb never belongs to either of the 12 tense forms of verbs, and thus it does not make a complete verb, an independent verb. Rather, the use of or the existence of a non-finite verb depends on the use of a finite verb. For example, I told him to go. To go is the non-finite verb. This is an infinitive, possibly you all know that. And without using a finite verb like told, only to go cannot give any sense. Just look at the sentences. I him to go, even if you write, such a sentence, I to go, it looks like an infinitive, but I to go does not make any sense. Taking tea. He. This also does not make a complete sentence. Taking tea, the man. We had the subject, we had a non-finite verb, but this is simply a present participle phrase. This is not neither a clause nor a sentence, and therefore it cannot make a complete sense. Without the use of at least one finite verb, the sense is not completed, and thus non-finite verbs always depend on the finite verbs in the clauses they are used in. And the sequence of non-finite verbs is related with the happening of the finite verbs. Verbs means an action. Therefore, non-finite verbs refer to the actions either done before the finite verb or done after the finite verb, or to be done done along with the simultaneously along with the finite verb. I repeat the sentence. Non-finite verbs are done either before the action of the finite verb or after the action of the finite verb, or sometimes along with the action of the finite verbs. The selection of the non-finite verb or the non-finite verb used in that clause determine the relation with the finite verb. Whenever we get a verb in the present participle means base form of verb plus ing. Usually a present participle refers to an action done before the finite in a clause. Sometimes if there is the object of the finite verb before the present participle, both of the verbs act simultaneously or function simultaneously or at the same time. With the object of the finite verb before the present participle refers to the actions functioning simultaneously. Let me give some examples. Taking tea, the man left the place. Look at the sentence. The word take is presented in the sentence in the present participle form, and the action of tea taking is done before the action of the finite verb, that is the leaving of the man. Similarly, he came here because of my calling him. Look, we have the verb call in the present participle form, and the sentence gives a sense that he came here after I called him. After I called him, since the subject is different from the main verb, from the subject of the main clause, we have used the possessive of the noun I, and we have written my, and we have used the present participle verb calling to refer an action done before his coming. And look at this sentence. You saw me doing this. In this sentence, we have an object, a noun, a pronoun before the present participle doing. Before the present participle doing. Because of the presence of the object me, both of the verbs doing and see refer to the actions done simultaneously or done at the same time. Look at a few more examples. He found the boy sleeping. We have the present participle sleeping, and sleeping, the present participle is followed by a noun, the boy. The boy is the object of the verb found. Therefore, it means that he found the boy while the boy was sleeping. While the boy was sleeping. Thus, if we have such a sentence, in spite of reading this of the book, the girl did not pass. Look, here reading does not have any subject before it. Therefore, we cannot say that reading and pass happened in the same time. Rather, we understand that the action of reading was done before the action of passing. as there is no object like the boy before the present participle reading. So always remember that usually present participles refer to the verbs done before the finite verb of a clause or sentence, an action done before the finite. Sometimes when there is an object, there is the object of the finite verb, as I said earlier, I am repeating, without the existence of a finite verb in a clause, no non-finite verb can make any sense or complete the sense of an expression. Therefore, for a complete expression of the senses, we need to use at least one finite verb in our speech or writing, so that the finite verb can complete the sense of an idea, and thus each and every English sentence, even clauses, needs at least one finite verb for a complete action, a complete expression in a complete sentence. When there is an object before the present participle, rather when the object of the finite verb is used before the present participle, the actions of both of the verbs function simultaneously or at the same time. And let us now see the use of the past participles in English sentences. Well, before giving you the definition, let us see the use of past participles as non-finite verbs. Like present participle, past participles in as a non-finite verb means a verb's past participle without the use of any auxiliary verb before it, such as I saw the man gone, or he found the glass broken, he got the sum done by his teacher. Look at the sentences. In each of the sentences we have a past participle without any auxiliary verbs. In the first sentence we have the past participle gone. In the second sentence we have the past participle broken. In the third sentence we have the past participle done. All the past participles are used in these sentences without any auxiliary verb. If they had any auxiliary verbs before them, these past participles or non-finite verbs would be function as finite verbs. For example, I have seen her. Here we have an auxiliary verb have. Because of the use of the auxiliary verb have, the verb seen is in the present perfect form, and thus it is a finite verb. But in the sentences I have written on board, there is no auxiliary verb in all of these sentences before the past participles. So, what are the senses and meanings of these finite verbs? I saw the man gone, that is, object the man had gone before my seeing him. Gone happened before my seeing him. Similarly, he found the glass broken. The glass was broken before it was found by him. He got the sum done by his teacher. Before his getting the sum was done by his teacher. So, non-finite verbs can be used in a different way as well. Informed, in the night, I decided to go there. Here, informed in the night, I decided to go there. That means I was earlier informed in the night and then I decided to go there. This, the verb informing happened before my taking decision. Do you understand? I was earlier informed and then I had been earlier informed and then I decided to go there. Here informed is a non-finite verb and it is in the present participle form. Again we see that the action of the non-finite verb informed takes place or happens or performs or functions before the finite verb decide. So, the action of the finite verb, the action of the present participle, the action of the past participle takes place before the action of the finite verb. Well, in the definition of present participle, we got the same idea. The action of the present participle also takes place before the action of the finite verb. But a critical study of the sentences will show an interesting difference between the present participles and past participles used in the sentences. For example, taking tea, he came. Here, take is an action done by the subject. Take is performed by, take is an action done by the subject, and thus present participle means the action of present participle takes place before the action of the finite verb. The similar definition we get about the past participles. And look at the sentence. Informed in the night I decided to go there. This informed is a past participle or non-finite verb that happens before the action of the finite verb. But here I do not actively, the subject do not actively does the verb inform. Rather, here subject is passive for the past participle or non-finite verb. Therefore, while defining past participles and present participles, we will say that present participles means an active verb that or whose action, an active verb whose action takes place before the action of the finite verb, and participles are passive verbs. Whose actions take place before the action of the finite verb. And infinitive means the verbs supposed to take place. Well, the verb supposed to, this is also an example of the use of the past participle verb. The verbs supposed to take place or function, rather supposed to function after the action of the finite verb. For example, I told the man to go there. You can easily understand the meaning of the sentence that before the man is supposed to go there, he was told, or I told the man so that he can go somewhere. The verb in the infinitive or non-finite form will happen after the action of the finite verb. He advised all to leave. Sorry, not this leave, to leave happily. First advice is done, and after the advice all is supposed to live happily. And thus when we get the secondary verb happening before the action of the finite verb, we get a present participle or a past participle. If the non-finite verb is in the active sense of verb, it is presented in the present participle, and when we have a past participle as a non-finite verb, we will get the passive sense of the verb. And similarly, in infinitives we get a verb to take place after the action of the finite verbs. In the use of present participles, we have sometimes both of the verbs functioning simultaneously. It happens only when the present participle in a sentence is followed by, in a clause, the present only happens when the present participle in a clause is followed by, when the present participle in a clause follows the object of the finite verb, or if there is the object of the finite verb before the present participle, the present participle verb and the finite verb in the clause function simultaneously. And thus I have tried to show as easily as possible the usage of the non-finite verbs in English sentences, so that from now on you can make the sense of English sentences properly. The error in determining the sequence of the non-finite verbs sometimes lead us interpreting a sentence wrongly. Sometimes the correct interpretation of a sentence depends on determining the proper use of the non-finite verb used in the sentence. And in my experience, in my teaching experience, also in my days of studying in schools and in school and college, or while I was a student of secondary and higher secondary level, I myself also sometimes got confused with the uses of the present participles and the gerunds, because both look alike, but a gerund means mainly use of a verb plus ing. A gerund means the use of a verb plus, of course the verb must be in the base form, use of verb plus ing as a noun. Use of verb plus ing as a noun means a gerund. Present participle means use of verb plus ing as secondary verbs in a clause as secondary verbs in the clauses, and we sometimes also have such use of verb plus ing as adjectives, noun adjectives. Well, noun adjective means gerund. For example, swimming is good for health. Swimming is good for health. In this sentence, the verb swim added with an ing functions as the subject of the verb, and therefore it is a noun, and thus this is an example of gerund. But when we use the word swimming in such a sentence, swimming there I returned home, we have I as the subject of the finite verb return, and swimming here is functioning as a verb, that is, this is a present participle or non-finite verb. This is a present participle or non-finite verbs. Sometimes such verbs are used as noun adjectives as well. Well, this is present participle when swim plus ing functions as the non-finite verb in the sentence. And we have another use of base form of verb plus ing, that is called noun adjectives, as used in a sentence or as used in a phrase like this one, a swimming pool. The twittering birds, some working girls, all these present participles, swimming, twittering or working, are modifying the nouns pool, birds or girls like an adjective, and still they are used as the gerunds, thus they are making they are used in the sentences as noun adjectives. So I think you have got the idea, of the difference between present participles and gerunds. When the base form of verb added with an ing is used as a noun or noun adjective, they are called gerund. And when the same thing, base form of verb plus ing are used as present participles, they are called non-finite verbs. When such an use of verb plus ing function as a verb, as the secondary verb in the clause, they are called present participles or non-finite verbs. Sometimes we also have past participles used as adjectives or passive verbs in the non-finite form. Basically, when the past participles function as the noun modifier, they are called adjectives, because like adjectives, such past participles modify a noun. For example, I got the twisted book. He purchased some rotten vegetables. Look. Or look at this sentence. The broken car was sold yesterday. In all these sentences, twisted modifies noun book, rotten modifies noun vegetables, broken modifies noun car. So all these modifiers, twisted, rotten and broken, are like adjectives modifying certain nouns, and thus we also get past participles as modifiers. Dear students, you need to know the definitions of the present participles, past participles and infinitives, because sometimes, particularly in the admission tests in higher institutions, often offer questions like which determine or show whether a particular word is used, a particular verb is used as a gerund or a present participle. If you don't know the difference between the present participles and gerunds, or if you don't know the difference between the past participles and the use of the past participles as adjectives or modifiers of nouns, you cannot answer such questions properly. And also, sometimes the interpretation of English sentences depends on the determining of the sequence of the non-finite verbs that take place in a sentence or clause. Therefore, knowing the non-finite verbs properly and also identifying the gerunds and the adjectives presented in the form of past participles are very important for everyday English uses for understanding English expressions, and also for making English expressions clear. I think this class may help you use the non-finite verbs properly in your English practice. And thus I call the end of this class now. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay well. Hope to meet you in the next class. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.